My name is Paige Welsh, and I'm one of the practitioners here at Total Health. And I'd like to share a little bit about fatigue, anxiety, and insomnia today on our webinar. But before we begin, I want to give a little bit of a background information for you. So I have a master's degree in clinical nutrition and then an undergraduate degree in nutrition and community health education. My areas of expertise reside in things like fatigue, anxiety, and insomnia, but I also work with a lot of people that have thyroid issues, autoimmune issues. I'm an expert in detoxification and gut healing as well. And my personal health journey started when I was diagnosed with thyroid issues at the age of 22 years old. And instead of going on medication right away, I personally decided to try to find the root cause issues to my health concerns at that time. So I was experiencing a lot of troubles falling asleep and staying asleep. I was very tired. I was very dizzy a lot of the times. I had anxiety, which I didn't even realize how bad it was at the time until it went away. And I just had a low motivation. I was always very active, and it was then hard for me to be super active. So I knew just something wasn't right. So I sought out other health options instead of medication and came across Total Health, which is where I currently work. And through the processes of identifying my root cause issues and my nutritional deficiencies, the issues that were going on, like toxicity affecting my thyroid, and other organs in my body, I was able to help my body heal naturally, and I can proudly say that I'm not on any medications right now. So this is the approach that I like to take with my current clients when we try to find their root cause issues to their health concerns as well. So I want to get into some of the root cause issues to things like fatigue, anxiety, and insomnia. So I'm going to start with fatigue. The first root cause issue I find with a lot of my clients is something called adrenal fatigue. So the adrenal glands are these two little glands that sit right on top of your kidneys in your back, and they produce a variety of hormones that make you feel really happy and motivated and energetic. I literally call the adrenal glands your quality of life organs, because when they're not optimal, your quality of life goes down. The adrenal glands have a lot of different regulatory processes in the body as well. For example, they help regulate your mood, your sleep, your energy, your blood sugar, and your ability to handle stress. So when your adrenal glands become imbalanced, then it's hard to regulate these things, and you just don't feel well. You don't feel like yourself. Some of the things that can cause adrenal fatigue are things like too high of stress, especially for too long, too much caffeine and sugar, toxins, and a lack of sleep. Another root cause of fatigue is something called the HPA axis dysfunction. So the HPA axis consists of three major organs. The H stands for your hypothalamus, which sits in the center of your brain. The pituitary stands for the P, that sits right below the hypothalamus in your brain. And then the A stands for the adrenal glands, which I was just explaining. So the HPA axis forms a large part of your endocrine system, or the system that deals with all of your hormones. And this system is responsible for regulating things like your stress response, your digestion, your mood, your immune system, your metabolism, and your energy levels as well. So if you encounter any form of stress, the HPA axis is in charge of that fight or flight response that a lot of us can relate to and a lot of us get. And when that fight or flight response gets activated, certain hormones get released. And if these hormones stay activated for too long, or are at too high of levels, that's when your body starts to break down and can cause a lot of disruption. So if your HPA axis isn't working like it's supposed to, you may find that you're unable to tolerate stress, You may feel heightened anxiety. You may find that it's hard to fall asleep and or stay asleep. Or some of my clients will feel what I call wired and tired at the exact same time. So you're feeling mentally wired, but you're so physically exhausted. Another root cause to fatigue could be thyroid imbalance. So I know firsthand how that feels like, and I see a lot of my clients that also have an imbalanced thyroid. Some are diagnosed, others aren't. So there's other ways to look at your thyroid besides blood work, because blood work is not going to maybe show the true picture of how your thyroid really is functioning. So the thyroid is a major energy organ, and it plays a role in your hormonal health as well. So when that thyroid is imbalanced or underfunctioning, a person may feel more anxiety, more mood swings, more depression, fatigue. It's going to be a lot harder to lose weight. They may be more cold intolerant and more moody as well. I see that a lot. So I often hear that when a person has thyroid or adrenal gland issues, they just don't feel like their self anymore. But they just can't pinpoint what's going on. Well, that's where some of the testing we do in our clinic comes in hand, because then we can help you identify if these imbalances are occurring for you, even though your blood work looks completely normal. I get really frustrated sometimes because I hear that a lot of my clients try to explain these symptoms to other healthcare professionals. And because their tests look normal, the healthcare professional may say that, oh, you're just getting too old, or you might be depressed, maybe you want to consider an antidepressant. I don't accept that. I don't think that should be the answer people should be given, especially if they know that they're not depressed and they know that they're not too old. In fact, one of my clients, she's almost 80 and she feels phenomenal. She reports better health than some of my clients that first come in that are in their 40s. So I do not accept being old as an excuse either. So what we try to do in our clinic is help a person identify these root cause issues to really know what's going on. Otherwise, a person may not be heard, or they're just going to keep chasing symptom after symptom for years and never get the health that they want or the health that they deserve. Another root cause of fatigue issues could be an inefficient heart energy. So when a person has inefficient heart energy, it's gonna affect their overall energy production. The heart is 500 times stronger than any muscle in your body, and when that muscle's not working optimally or might be low in nutrition like magnesium or B vitamins, then your energy is going to really suffer. There's also a thyroid and adrenal heart connection. So the three of those organs all kind of talk together and work together. So thyroid and or adrenal imbalance can then start to affect the energy of the heart, which affects your overall energy as well. Another root cause issue may be something called mold or mycotoxins. So these could be in the environment if you're exposed to toxic mold. It could be someplace where you're living. There's many different sources of mold and mycotoxins, and I see that can really affect fatigued individuals and maybe a big root cause to chronic fatigue issues that go unmissed because a lot of times they're not getting tested for things like mold toxicity or mycotoxins. Other pathogens can also be a root cause to these issues. So things like parasites, different fungal infections or candida, bacteria, or viral infections. And what's really tricky about these sometimes is that it can be hard to identify because you can still be feeling fairly well. Like you may not have symptoms of having a cold or flu, but you could have a systemic virus affecting you, and that's going to affect your overall energy production. Other root causes I find are food sensitivities. So a lot of people don't realize this because people assume that if they're sensitive to a food, they're going to feel it more in their stomach. But that's not true. I have people that get food sensitivities affecting them in many, many different ways. So, for example, one of my food sensitivities is soy. And if I eat too much soy, I start to get a racing heart and then I start to get really bad anxiety. So, for me, I don't feel any digestive issues at all if I consume soy, but I feel it immediately with anxiety. So, other clients may get more brain fog, they may have a harder time falling asleep. Even if you had, let's say, eggs for breakfast and you were sensitive to eggs, you may not get any immediate reactions, but you may then that night have a much harder time falling asleep. Food sensitivities may not show up for up to 72 hours after you ingest a food, so sometimes it can be really hard to pinpoint, and that's where the help of a nutritionist or a clinical nutritionist would come into hand. So another root cause issue to fatigue would be heavy metal or chemical toxicity. So we have so many heavy metals and chemicals in our environment nowadays, and they just build up and they can cause a lot of issues with your energy production. I even had a client once who her issues were both depression and fatigue, and we did a variety of tests. We found out that she had way too high of mercury levels in her body. She had worked in a dental office, and she had a lot of silver fillings in her mouth, which they contain about 50% mercury, and that mercury leaches over time. Well, we found out that that was one of her main root causes, so we got her on a detox protocol when her body was ready, and within a few weeks, the light went on. She's like, wow, I can't believe I was in this much pain and depression for all these years. And it was really coming from a toxin in the environment that I had no idea. And she had tried different antidepressants and supplements and a variety of stuff, but she never found that her root cause was toxicity. So it really helped clear up her mood and her energy and her anxiety as well. Another root cause that I see affecting fatigue is something called cellular inflammation. So when a person has high cellular inflammation, it's hard for their cells to respond to various vitamins, minerals, and hormones, all of which can affect your energy production. So we do a test in our clinic to help us find out how much is going on a cellular level, because different tests that your doctor might run, like a CRP blood test, isn't going to show what's going to show on a urine test for this. Another root cause would be a nutritional deficiency. So I see lots of nutritional deficiencies, some of which that are going to affect fatigue are going to be more B vitamins, sometimes vitamin D, which is actually very common in Wisconsin here. And then vitamin C as well can be another root cause nutritional deficiency to fatigue. Last, there are two major food groups that can really affect your energy levels. This is too much sugar and processed carbs. That's going to affect your overall energy, your blood sugar. So I try to help people and meet them where they're at on making some nutritional changes, make it fun and easy for them while still being able to enjoy their food. But yes, sugar and processed carbs are not good if you have energy issues. So some root causes of anxiety, you'll find that they're extremely similar to the root causes of fatigue. Some might be a little different, but I'll run through them again. So the first one, and a common theme, is adrenal fatigue. I see a lot of anxiety issues stemming from an imbalance in the adrenal glands. But I'll also see issues a lot of times with HPA axis dysfunction, the food sensitivities, nutritional deficiencies, thyroid issues, too much sugar, processed carbs. All of those can also be root causes to your anxiety. And then for insomnia, there can be a lot of the similar root cause issues as well that I'll just quickly run through. So again, because the adrenal glands control your sleep cycle, when the adrenals are imbalanced, it's going to really start to affect your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. Other people will have things like nutritional deficiencies. They may have some blood sugar imbalances. So if you eat too much sugar before bed, it could be your blood sugar waking you up in the middle of the night. Some people have more hormonal shifts, so they'll have more hot flashes. That can be a root cause to their insomnia. Some struggle with snoring or sleep apnea. Some of my clients who I find have a hard time staying asleep. They can fall asleep just fine, but they can't stay asleep. It's usually because they have too high of cortisol. So cortisol is a hormone that your adrenals produce, and it's released in response to stress. So any type of perceived stress, you're going to ask the adrenals to produce some cortisol. And if cortisol stays too high, too long, or if it's too long during the day, I should say, or if it's too high for too long of a duration, like weeks or months, then that cortisol spike could be preventing you from staying asleep. So I see a lot of my clients, when this happens, they may wake up and they're just wide awake. Some will wake up with a panic attack. Some will wake up with anxiety or their heart racing. I've even had clients that when this happens, it's their body's waking them up from a bad dream because their cortisol's too high, and then it's harder to fall asleep because you feel more alert at that time. Your body's more in that fight or flight. So other clients may have a harder time just falling asleep. They can stay asleep, but they can't fall asleep. So this might be due to various nutritional deficiencies like low in GABA or magnesium. Other people may need more support with their HPA axis. So if they're having like hypothalamus or pituitary issues, then that could be a problem. Or if they just can't turn their mind off at night from stress, then that might be affecting their ability to fall asleep. Some of my clients will have a harder time falling asleep due to pain. And a lot of times if a person has chronic pain, they also have chronic cellular inflammation. So trying to find out what's driving their cellular inflammation and how much they have is key for this. So there's three major things that will cause cellular inflammation. One is your diet. So too much sugar, processed carbs, vegetable oils, bad fats, that causes a lot of inflammation on a cellular level. Toxins, so things like heavy metals and chemicals. We now have over 80,000 chemicals that are allowed in production. These are in things like cleaning products and your beauty care products and laundry detergents, and anything with a fragrance is going to have chemicals in it. And then the last thing that will cause cellular inflammation is stress. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because if stress causes more inflammation and your inflammation gets worse off of stress, what do? That's where we come in hand on helping you find out, maybe we can't remove your stress, but how can we get your body handling stress a lot better? And that's my goal for you, if that's the issue, of course. Other root causes of insomnia might be something called EMF exposure. So electromagnetic fields, we have a lot more exposure to that nowadays with the increase in technology, like your smart TVs, your phones, your Kindles, your iPads. All of that will have different radiation exposures that can make it harder for a person to fall asleep or stay asleep. Other people have what I call a circadian rhythm imbalance. So your circadian rhythm is basically a set of hormones that get released at certain times during the day to help give us energy in the morning and help us get sleep at night. So for example, your cortisol, that stress hormone, is supposed to be the highest when you first wake up. Usually for most, it's around 6 a.m. And throughout the day, it should gradually decline. And then when it's low at nighttime, then your body should start to produce melatonin to bring your melatonin levels up so you can fall asleep and stay asleep. Which, by the way, I find a lot of my clients have tried melatonin when they have chronic sleep issues, and that's usually not the answer. So you got to look outside of the box for why you're not able to fall asleep or stay asleep. So as I mentioned before, a common theme for all of this is your adrenal glands. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about adrenal health. So besides the common symptoms that the adrenal glands give a person when they're weak, besides the fatigue, the anxiety, and the insomnia, which I focused on, the adrenal glands can also give you other symptoms such as feeling wired and tired at the same time, a low libido, lack of motivation, brain fog, lowered immunity, exercise malaise, it's called. That's when you get more fatigued after you exercise. Most of the time, exercise should give you more energy, but if you're getting more fatigued after exercise, that's usually an adrenal gland issue. Some of my clients will have muscle weakness, memory loss, lack of focus, ability to lose fat or put on muscle, and even dizziness. And what's really hard is that these symptoms a lot of time are often unexplained by your typical medical test. And honestly, the adrenal glands usually aren't even tested medically. However, they're such a common root cause to fatigue, anxiety, and insomnia. So there's actually 3 different stages of adrenal fatigue, and helping a person find out what stage they're in can really help us as practitioners on how to help their body heal. So stage 1 of adrenal fatigue, most people don't even notice when they're in this stage. They actually feel pretty good. You feel like you can go, go, go. You may have a lot of stress, but you feel like you're just pushing through it. You can overcome it, no big deal. But unfortunately, this is not going to last forever, and most people then end up moving to stage 2 adrenal fatigue at some point in their life. So stage 2, which is where most of my clients are in, this is where people are having a hard time. They can fall asleep, but they're having a hard time staying asleep. They're feeling that wired or tired. They may have a lowered motivation than usual, so tasks that used to be quite easy are now more difficult for them. And like I said, most people are in that stage. Stage 3, you do not want to get to. That's when your cortisol flatlines. These are the people that always want to sleep no matter what. They go to bed tired, they wake up tired, they're exhausted all day long. Some people will then get joint pain, dizziness. A lot of people who have fibromyalgia might be in this stage already. So restoring the adrenals at this stage is critical for helping the adrenal glands start to come back to life. The good news is you can restore them, but you need to know how to do it and what to supplement with. So let's say that you are in stage 1 or 2 adrenal fatigue and you feel okay, there are implications of being in adrenal fatigue for too long. So some of those would include things like further or heightened sleep disruption. So let's say that you can fall asleep and you may wake up 2 or 3 times throughout the night. Well, that 2 or 3 times may then turn into 6 or 7 times, and you feel like you never get into deep sleep, you never get into quality sleep. Some people will get chronic fatigue that lasts all day long. Some people, where they allow their adrenals to keep moving into those stages, they eventually get autoimmune diseases. Some people, their anxiety may then turn into panic attacks when their adrenals move through those stages. Some people, it will affect their ability to lose weight, especially around the belly area. Some will get really intense sugar cravings, and that's because the adrenals help regulate your blood sugar. So when they're not working very well, your body's going to crave immediate energy, which is sugar. However, it makes matters worse because it's a lot harder on the adrenals when you eat a lot of sugar. For some, when their adrenals are imbalanced for so long, it will start to affect their blood pressure. So some people's blood pressure will go really low, others will go really high. Some people may have slow wound healing or bruise pretty easily. Some will get PMS or menopause symptoms. And sometimes adrenal issues can eventually lead to cancer because of the adrenals' connection with your immune system. So there are some solutions to all of this. The first one would be stress reduction. Stress reduction is huge, and a lot of people aren't focusing on that every single day. But if your stress is high, that is something that needs to be a priority. So different things like breath work, journaling, meditation, prayer, visualization, all of that can be really stress reducing. You just got to find things that you like, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, trying to find something within the day that brings you joy and brings your stress levels down is really, really important. One of my favorites is called 4-7-8 breathing. So this is when you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, and then you breathe out for a count of 8. So I personally try to do this before lunchtime, before dinner, on my drive to and from work, just to kind of recenter and refocus. And I can literally feel my muscles relax and my nervous system calm down when I do that breathing. Other solutions may be that some people might need to reduce or avoid stimulants such as coffee, chocolate, or alcohol. So it's not all off limits, but sometimes for a period of time, a person may need to reduce that or avoid it to allow their hormones and their adrenals and other glands to heal. Other people may just need to switch the kind that they're consuming. So maybe instead of doing a high sugar alcohol, you would do something lower sugar. Or maybe if you're used to milk chocolate, you would try a dark chocolate. And if you have 6 cups of coffee, maybe you work on just having 3 cups of coffee. So it really depends on the person, how long they've had these issues, and where they want their health to go. And that's how I help them decide what's best for them. Also, what would be important is a low inflammatory and a low sugar diet. So like I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite things to work with clients on is their diet. I love nutrition, and I love finding people solutions and ideas and suggestions, and really hearing their lifestyle, their stories. So what time do you wake up? When do you eat breakfast? Are you hungry in the morning? What do you do for lunches? Do you go to work? Do you get to go home for lunch? Do you go out to eat? So after hearing that, then I can really help a person guide their nutrition plan to what works best for them. Another solution would be finding specific supplements for your body type and your hormone levels. So it can be really hard to find supplementation because there's so much out there. You'll see on various websites all the new supplements, or you should be taking this or that, but you really need to identify what is best for you and your body, especially when it comes to adrenal supplementation. So some adrenal products can be stimulating, other adrenal products can be more calming. Some adrenal products will increase your blood pressure, some will lower it. So really make sure you're talking to a healthcare practitioner before you just go on a supplement, because if you don't find your root cause concern and you take something and it does the opposite effect, it's not going to be a good option for you. So I'd like to share a little bit about what we do in our clinic to help us find out these root cause issues. Something that we do specifically for the adrenal glands is called an orthostatic blood pressure test. And an orthostatic blood pressure test, we take the blood pressure laying down and then we take it standing, and we look at the differential between the two values. So when you go from laying to standing, your blood pressure should increase if your adrenal glands are working like they should. So a lot of my clients, when they have low blood pressure, or when they have low adrenal function, their blood pressure will actually drop when they stand up, and that's not good. So a lot of my clients will report that they get dizzy upon standing, or lightheaded. And then some of my clients with just low blood pressure in general will have adrenal gland issues as well. We also do something called a heart quest, or a heart rate variability, and this allows us to see how that HPA axis is regulating. We want to see how the autonomic nervous system is responding and handling stress, so we can see how much stress might be a root cause to your issues. We also do, it's called a meta-oxy urine test, and this looks at inflammation levels on a cellular level. So like I said, we want to first find out how much inflammation is going on, and then we want to figure out why. And once we can figure that out, then the whole body can heal. All of your organs are made out of cells. So to really enhance your whole body healing capability, then you would have to get on a cellular level. We also do a body composition. So this, we can see your muscle mass versus your fat ratio. And then we also do a 150-point questionnaire. So we take a pretty extensive health history with people, and this helps us also find those root cause issues. So we spend a lot of time going over that questionnaire with a client. We want to have a good idea of what they're coming in with, what they've tried, and then go from there. So we may also do other laboratory tests like an ASI test or a Dutch hormone test, but we don't always do that with everyone, especially if it's not necessary. So I would love to hear from all of you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me at clinic@totalhealthinc.com. If you call within the next 48 hours, we will schedule you with a free 15-minute phone consult with me, and I can help you start to get your health back. So please give our clinic a call. The number is 262-251-2929. I look forward to hearing from you.